In appreciation for your services to pizza lovers everywhere,
we'd like to present you with this
one slice. Michelangelo.
One pizza.
Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor, in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out.
Welcome to Entertainment
What happens
Dudes.
when you put Cam and Jason in a room together? We don't know because we've never done it.
In the same room, see? Yeah.
No, you got to stay there. I got to stay here.
Jason's room, but I can't.
Stop it.
Okay.
Get out.
Sorry about that.
Get out.
I'm sorry.
See this space, Cam? See this space? Safe.
I have problems with boundaries.
Yes, you do. Yes, especially, and Keith close talking. I'm like, Cam, give me space. Well, if you didn't catch our last week's episode, you are going to want to catch last week's episode, especially if you are interested in anything that has to do with characters.
So catch it and then come back to this.
Yeah, and then you got to come back to this one.
Yes.
Because this is part two of last week. Yes. So what are we doing this week, Cam?
We are doing more Townsend Coleman, and you know him from Inspector Gadget, you know him from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know him from Fraggle Rock, Teen Wolf, a whole bunch of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Townsend Coleman.
There they are again. Where do we get those cheers? Yay. Yay.
And here I am in the very same shirt I wore last week.
We're
Me
in the
too.
same shirts too.
Wow.
Entertainment dudes.
This is like time travel because for us, it's only like,
we're red, white, and blue,
seconds.
guys. Like he's got the white, blue, and red. And we didn't even do this.
Wow.
Like 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
We didn't even recognize that. Yeah.
The fireworks have begun.
Townsend, we left off and we just basically scratched the surface of your career so far. And it's been so interesting. And we talked about Fraggle Rock and Teen Wolf and, Inspector Gadget. And I want to start talking about some of the animated spot work that you've done, the commercial work. How different is that from doing an animated series?
It's just a lot quicker.
Yeah.
It's because it's basically the same, but it also depends on the character that you do.
Mm-hmm.
One of the characters that I did, which was very short lived because they replaced me with Frank Welker, was Diggum the Frog. Diggum. Yeah.
I dig them.
One of the most fun animated characters I did, one of the most unusual ones I did, was for the 7-Up spot. The red dot
right
on the 7-Up bottle. And he wore the sunglasses. And and his name was Cool Spot. And so I was at the time when I got this, it was really unusual because and this is how things have changed so much in this business because you just don't have these kind of relationships anymore, or you don't have the face-to-face interaction anymore that we used to have. But I was the voice on the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes spots. I was the voiceover on those, and I remember the ad agency. They were in from Chicago, and we were doing a Kellogg's session. And the producer, he said to me, Townsend, are you familiar with this Spot character from 7-Up? And I said, yeah, I've seen that. And he said, well, we're losing the account. We're not losing the account. We're losing the creative director who was the original voice on that because he's going to another agency. And so we can't keep using him. And I need to recast it. But frankly, I don't feel like going through a big casting process. And I know that you do a lot of animation. Would you mind just laying down a little just silly gibberish as an audition? And I'll take it back to the agency in Chicago. And I'm thinking in my mind, would I mind? Yeah, I don't think I'm up for that today, but maybe call me tomorrow. And, so I did, a little of that gibberish stuff, and a couple of days later, they booked me for this session for 7-Up. The crazy thing about that session was it was only one session, and it lasted about an hour, and all they needed was a library of this, this. Just that kind of stuff. There was no words, but they were just attitudes and different scenarios. Maybe he's climbing up a cliff, maybe he's falling off a cliff, whatever. And so they got this big library of that. And from that library, they made like 6 or 7 national spots a year for like the next 6 or 7 years for me.
And that's and you retire. If you don't love what you do, you retire.
That's right. Yeah. So, and then I got they did bring me back for one short session for the video game, because they had an actual arcade video game of Cool Spot. And
I think I actually saw that one time for real.
I've seen it
I actually
too.
saw that game. Okay.
Yeah, and so I got a chance to do that as well. But so that that's a kind of an unusual session for animated spots and stuff. But but also a good lesson for keeping good relationships with the people you work with and work for. You just never know where this stuff might just drop out of the sky from. And especially these days, But like I said, it's very different these days because we don't go into the studio so much anymore. Everything's remote. You don't have really the relationships or the long-term relationships that you have, with the writers and the producers. You don't get to go and audition for these people at their offices anymore and meet them face-to-face, which is, frankly, how I used to get, I think, so much of my work was just being able to just meet them and get to kind of flesh them out and them flesh me out. And you
got to kind of, it's that whole thing about liking the people that you're working with. And I think we've talked with a number of directors, writers, actors on the show, and almost all of them without fail have said, one of the most important things is building relationships, and you never know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them again. And I always think, you're going to have negative press or positive press or no press. I think it's better to have positive press when people go back and say, I love working with Jason. I love working with Townsend. Cam is amazing. Like you have,
of course.
Yeah. And over 30 years, how many relationships you get the wrong person upset, and
that's right. Yeah.
That can be it.
And all the more reason to remember, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, first of all, if we're lucky enough to get work in this business, we're probably some of the most blessed actors out there, because it's a great business and it's a great industry and it's a great privilege to be able to work in this business, So if we forget that and we start getting cocky or you start, copping attitude or whatever, man, there's nothing that'll shoot yourself in the foot quicker than that. And it's just don't do it.
Anytime I think I ever get go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
Yeah, I just said I'm grateful for everything I book, and for even the people who do it to trust me to voice something. I mean, it's a privilege, and I don't take that for granted at all.
Right. So go even farther with that, Cam. Then when you don't book it, but the guy who did book it. Are you happy for him?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't count the number of times on my hand that I know someone who's booked something and I've auditioned for it too. And I'm just, I'm so happy for them. I'll call them or send them a congratulations note. And it's great. Because
I think that's just the difference too with VO, which I love. Like the VO community is special. It's unique.
Sure is.
It does not exist anywhere in any other industry I've ever seen like it does. Like it's literally I think of the most family focused, family feeling industry of any I've ever seen. And
that's so true, Jason. Yeah. It's so true.
I remember when Jason Lanier White, he got the scrubbing bubbles, and the first thing I did was go to the store and take a picture with the scrubbing bubbles and congratulate him. And the same thing with Christina Malizia. She did the red cow on the
yes, I know what you're talking about.
Did the same thing, and it's just I love seeing my fellow actors looking
right.
It's great.
Yeah.
So I thought anytime if I'm directing or doing, I think about what we do and I think about the productions that we make, and anytime I feel like I feel so incredible about myself. I always would just go do something like watch a brain surgery or like look at some architectural, like somebody designed this bridge and like figured out how to make all of this stuff like that's impressive to me. To what I do is just it's awesome, it's exciting, but I mean, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not building things that people have to, like skyscrapers that people have to survive in. Like
we're not curing cancer here.
Correct, exactly. And I think that's just it. It's something we get to do. I love storytelling, and clearly, like you're doing a character like Odyssey for 900 episodes around there now or more.
Yeah, we're closing in on 1,000 in another year or
1,000
two.
episodes.
Hey, Jason!
What is it, Connie?
How do you stick with the character? I mean, so much of yourself must be in this character. I mean, literally, how the two of you have grown together. So tell me about that experience with this character. Like, that long.
Yeah, well, you've not only grown together with the character, but also with the production team. You know, the production team at Focus on the Family is just stellar. You know, and while some of the names and faces have changed over the years, there's still this really ultra high quality that they shoot for there, and they're all like-minded. You know, and so being able to do Jason Whittaker in this particular show for all these years, again, when they cast me, they really weren't looking for a character. They just wanted me just to be me. Mm-hmm. So that makes it very well. It makes it easy and a little difficult sometimes because you don't know where that line gets a little blurry between, you know, maybe the way I might really feel about something in a scene and the way the character is sort of being directed in the scene. But yeah, they become one, or I have become one with Jason over the years. And so I understand him. I understand what his character is. I understand what his characteristics are. I know what he would say and what he wouldn't say. You know, and so.
So if someone saw you in public and said, "Hey, Jason," you'd probably actually turn around and.
That is interesting because then you know the voice of that character. So what does happen when you see something in a script that you know is not his voice? Do you mention it? Do you have any say or?
Yeah, but you know, Cam, that has happened so rarely because these people, I mean, they know this character better than I do. You know, because they've created him, they write him. I don't do any of that. I just read the words, you know, and I speak them. But I have to be him.
Larry Lonergan lifted lazy logy laconic Louis languid limpid linguini.
Okay, great. Now, do this.
So it's actually been very easy over the years because they know what they're doing, and they know what this character would say or wouldn't say. You know, so I mean, I can't even remember a time when I would think, no, I'm not sure Jason would go that direction. I've seen them take him in a direction that they hadn't taken him before. Like, for instance, now it's not that they haven't done this before, but they're doing it in a different way. I think getting ready to take Jason into a relationship. Okay, and that's touching on an area that fans for years have been wanting Jason to settle down and get married and, you know, do that kind of thing. I'm not saying that he's there yet, but I think I suspect that I see them taking him in that direction. So this is sort of an interesting, you know, twist for us.
How do you keep him? How do you keep a character fresh that long?
Again, that's in the writing, you know. And as far as an actor, you just got to keep your head in the game. But that's true with everything that we do. I mean, when we get behind this mic, it's you gotta be able to turn it on, and genuinely so every single time, whether it's a commercial or a network TV promo or a character in a cartoon, doesn't matter. You've got to instantly be able to, you know, latch on to whatever that character is that you're about to open your mouth to do every single time. So
Speaking
I
of,
think that connects to that heart thing again, like
Yeah,
the soul.
yeah.
It's got to come from it can't come from a, this is my job, I got to work, I'm going to do this. It's got to come from that gut fire that just says this is my purpose. And if everything you do you approach with that, even if that's not your favorite thing, if you still approach it with this is my purpose to serve this person at this time and this character right now,
right,
that's going to come through in what you're doing.
Yeah, and conversely, if you're ever in a situation where a director wants you, a voice director wants you to voice something a very specific way that in your gut or your mind you're going, I do not hear that. I don't understand why you want that, and it doesn't make any sense, and so I'm not connecting with that in any way. Then it comes out just rote. It's mechanical.
Right.
And while you can pull that off, I've been in situations where I've had to do that, and I feel like all I'm doing is I'm parroting this voice director, and that's not coming from a real place. And I think that you can tell. I think you can tell the difference when you watch it back because it's not coming from that organic place within you. It's
you
now
almost
you're
feel
just
like you're cheating. You feel like you're lying, right? You're like, I'm lying because I wouldn't say this, but I'm actually saying it. So technically I'm lying.
And so people understand, I mean, what we're talking about is something way different than following direction. I mean, this is it's a completely different thing. I mean, you can follow direction and still be that character, but when someone takes you so far off the rails, it's
you're going, man, And sometimes one of the hardest things to do is if you have to do a character and try and fit it within a certain length of time, like if you're dubbing, and sometimes that can be difficult because it flies in the face of the way the character would actually voice something if you were recording it and not having to dub, into an existing piece of footage. But yeah.
I wouldn't even thought about that. Yeah. I think that's the same like when we're doing ADR. Especially if you're ADRing someone else's material. We had this where an actress, we had to replace the actress. She already did it, but then the ADR session, we had to have someone else do it. So it's like she had to get in there and do her delivery on her timing and still sell the character. I'm like, that's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And that's a whole different, set of skills right there to be able to do that and do it believably. Yeah.
I think ADR is one of the, to me, it's one of the hardest because it can be done really, really well. But if it's not, obviously you can tell. And even how you record it, even how you where the mic is, even how you make it sound, it's like, it's either like you're watching it, like that's ADR clearly, like it's terrible. Or
especially on doing that on foreign material. You have to act and you have to get the lip movement
the lip
very
flap.
close.
Yeah.
And
I am
you're
so
sitting there,
happy.
Well, you're sitting there on sessions with the director, and sometimes we'll in the session change the line to fit the lip movement more. But it's a very interesting situation to be in because you have to feel the character and be the character, but lip match and time, and it's multitasking at its finest.
Yeah, no kidding.
One thing I find such joy in what I'm doing is, for me, stories are the most important thing that connects us together. I think I'm a very relationship person and relationship oriented, and I think it's from shared experiences or from stories that we find the closest bonds with each other to things that we can relate to, whether it's a comedian telling his jokes and we're all laughing at the same thing because we feel it, or, it's that movie. And like for me, it was Top Gun recently. I watched the newest one with my daughter. It's just so amazing.
It's great, isn't it?
It's so good, and you're just enjoying that story, and you feel what he feels, and everyone in that room together, like when at the very end, everyone, like people stood up and were cheering. It was like that kind of thing. And then so when we get an opportunity to take our stories that are our heart stories that we care about, or characters that we care about, and we get a chance to present those to people and build a narrative in their head and then pass on those feelings.
Yeah.
To me, there's nothing more rewarding when you do it right. It's just so rewarding. Like, and in those tough times, you think, oh, I'm never going to do this again. Why am I doing this? This is a hard project. This is this. And then you get the reward of like that. You'll do it all over again.
Right. Yeah.
No matter
exactly.
what.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that also comes back to, and it's interesting because you were talking earlier about being able to bounce off each other and being together versus being remote and recording something. And it's kind of the same way, you know, how we've lost for the past few years the shared experience of watching something together. That happens. That happens too in a theater. Right. It's a completely different energy in a theater than watching it at home. Yeah. And so there is something about that interpersonal connection and being one-on-one. And hopefully hopefully we're getting back to that. So
I had an experience. I took my daughter and my wife to go to a sing-along, right? So they had Frozen sing-along. I was very, very excited to go. We're like, let's just go sing our hearts out. We'll have a blast. I get into this theater and I turn around and there's a bunch of middle-aged 40, 50-year-old dudes. The guy right behind me is in a wife beater. He's even got some popcorn already spilled. I'm like, why are these people? So I stand up, I go, who's ready to sing along? And then everyone's like dead silent. And then I sat down and all of a sudden some lady in the back goes, hey. She goes, this movie is Ride Along. This ain't no sing along. And it was the movie Ride Along, which was like one of the, I don't remember that it was like in an action film, rated R or whatever. My daughter got up, poof, she ran out of there so fast. They're just those little hairpins, in the air behind her. They go, who's ready to sing along? She goes, this is Ride Along.
Wrong theater.
Wrong theater. I was like, phew, finally I walk down the hall and there's kids, families, parents. I was like, this is the sing along I was expecting. And this was like some rated R action film.
Oh gosh.
Who's ready to sing along?
Oh that's man. That's so funny. You talked about, we didn't cover everything you've done in animation, and I want to pull something in here, and then we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Mustache!
The mustache.
Mustache!
Dick, you haven't shaved once since I met you. How could you possibly grow a mustache overnight?
Yes. Well, apparently I've been saving it up.
Saving it?
Saving
what are you talking
it up.
about? That's not how it works.
Oh, look at it, Arthur. Oh, so silky. So smoothie.
Oh, please.
Oh, this changes everything. I feel different, better. A new sensation spreading out from my upper lip to every other part of my body. It's a feeling I can't quite describe. It's a savvy kind of feeling, a swabby kind of feeling, kind of a mustache feeling.
Mustache.
Oh yeah.
The shoulders.
Mustache. He ain't nobody's He so cool.
Upper lip, slick and hip, pointy on the ends.
Oh, there's that singing.
Yep.
Just that feeling.
Looking good.
Mustache feeling.
Some of the best animation. Like, it was awesome. What's it like doing that?
That
in
show was my favorite. I mean, listen, Ninja Turtles, doing Michelangelo, for 10 years on Ninja Turtles, you can't beat that. And
amazing.
That's right up there. But I have to say, when we record episodes of this show, of The Tick, oh my God, we were howling every single session. In many of the episodes, the Tick would go off on these wild, wacky rants at the end of an episode, and I got to the point where they were my favorite part of the show to do. And when you show up for an animation session, you get there and your first 20 minutes or half an hour is spent, donuts and coffee and just, hobnobbing. Right. And they give you your script. And so you go through your script and highlight your lines or circle your lines or however you do it. But just to get a sense of where the show is going to go before you go into the studio to record. And I would do that. And I would get all the way up to that last page or two where the Tick would go off on this wacky rant, and I wouldn't read it because I didn't want to know where he was going to go with this. I wanted to be surprised on mic when I was actually reading it out loud for the first time. And 9 times out of 10, those were the takes that they would use for for that episode, just because they were so wacky. You know how when you're reading a script and you're doing it out loud, your eye is kind of scanning a little bit ahead to so you know where you're going with it. So I'd be performing this out loud, but my eye would be going ahead half a line or a line, and I'd be thinking in the back of my mind while this is coming out of my mouth, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is hilarious. Oh, yes. It was just, I had such a blast with that character. Yeah.
I love that kind of sense of humor. I love. It's like that Seth MacFarlane, A Million Ways to Die in the Wild West. Did you see that? A mustache, or even the Orville. Like we're watching the Orville and fun. So funny. Like I just like random stuff that just also has meaning and like it's so rich.
That was the Tick, man. That was Ben Edlund, pure and simple.
Just straight out of his head, straight into the character.
Yep, because that is Ben. That's and his complement of compadres, the writers who also worked on the show, of course. But it was just because. I don't know. I resonated with that character so well, and he was such a blast. He was such fun to do. Even to this day, I think about yeah. Well, don't count your weasels before they pop, dink. It's like,
and you're like, what even is that? But it makes sense.
Right. So, have you ever thought about cosplaying as the Tick at Comic-Con?
Well,
yes.
I haven't, but I see them all the time, know, because I'm going to so many Comic-Cons these days, and at almost every one there is a Tick and Arthur, or a Tick and American Made cosplayer, at these. I always try and get a picture with them, but yeah.
So would you be able to go bodysuit, or would you just have to be able to just muscles everywhere?
Oh, well,
if you cosplay,
me. I wouldn't need a bodysuit. What, are you kidding? It'd be me in tights.
Do you walk like this too?
Of course I do. Because I am so built like that. Or not. Yeah.
Or
man.
So they used you as a body double for the drawing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's when you can voice actor that all serve as body double for your muscular character.
Yeah, no, I wasn't the body double for that. But I will tell you, that so years later, when I did the voice of Sentinel Prime on Transformers Animated.
Roger that. On my way.
The writers and the producers of the show were fans of the Tick. And so that's why they invited me to be the voice of Sentinel Prime, because they actually modeled Sentinel Prime after the Tick. He was blue, big. Wow.
I never even thought about that. That didn't even cross my mind.
Big chin. Yeah, and his things on the side of his head, sort of like the antenna. Yeah, totally modeled after the Tick. And I had read that somewhere online before I ever found out that it was actually true. Huh. And then I found out that's actually how they, came up with Sentinel Prime, the look of him, and why they wanted me to do his voice. So, yeah.
What was it like about that? Coming up with the voice for the Tick? Like, was it immediate, or did you go through some iterations, or how does that work?
I was a big fan. Of Firesign Theater. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but back in the late 60s, early 70s, when I was still in high school, the big thing for kids to do back then was to take their bit called Nick Danger Third Eye, and be able to not only memorize all 20 minutes of it or so, but be able to do the voices. And so this was like this thing that those of us who were in the theater department and just knuckleheads would try and do and challenge each other with. So when I came out to Hollywood, one of the first guys I actually met and was working with was a guy named Phil Proctor, who was one of the 4 guys in Firesign Theater. And when I met him, I was absolutely starstruck. I mean, I was just slayed. And I was like, oh my God, you're Rocky Rococo, you know? And so this character, Nick Danger, he was a private eye and had sort of that attitude and kind of that character. And their writing was, you know, as bizarre on Firesign Theater as it was on The Tick.
All right, Nancy, get your hands off me. What's the scoop?
Chocolate butterscotch or Rocky Rococo Road.
So that was the first thing that informed me. The second thing that informed me was just his bigness. And, you know, so I took a lot from Gary Owens.
Hi, I'm Gary Owens, now on KFI 640.
And I took a lot from Ted Knight, Ted Baxter.
Well, that's the news for tonight. Starting tomorrow, we'll be presenting a new feature on WJM, Dining Out with Sue Ann Niven.
You know, from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's like those 3 things I sort of melded in my brain, and it just made sense to me.
That
so,
is amazing.
Yes, so that's where it came from.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, now you know what informed The Tick. That is
right.
So awesome. Man. Yeah. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's obviously some stories there, and you had some great relationships with the other actors. So, tell us a little behind the scenes there.
Well, Rob Paulson and I were working on Fraggle Rock at the time before Ninja Turtles came on, and so this is in '86 or so, and our voice director came into one of our Fraggle Rock sessions and said, "You guys aren't going to believe what I'm going to be casting and directing next." And he opens his briefcase, pulls out a Ninja Turtles comic book, and shows it to us. And we all looked at it, and I don't think any of us had ever heard of it before. And we were like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Good. I mean, this is back in the day of, you know, My Little Pony and Strawberry Shortcake. So, you know, this show sounded like it didn't, you know, have much in the way of legs. But he brought us in. We auditioned for it, and after we did a 5-part miniseries as a pilot.
Oh, she's no fun. She fainted.
And when that finally aired, the production company decided to go ahead and put it into production for a full season. And, you know, of course, we were hoping it would go a couple of years, but no guarantees. And within that first year, that first season, we started to really, and that's when the toys first started coming out too. And it was the first show that I did that I had action figures too. So that was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then although Fraggle Rock, I was doing that before that. So I got my Gobo and some of the little Fraggle Rock characters. So actually, that's not true. Fraggle Rock was my first action figure. But we started seeing a lot of fan mail coming in that they would share with us at recording sessions, and it was very, very positive. And then we got picked up for a second season. And then the thing just blew up, and you know, by '88 or '89, it was, you know, just crazy town. So, yeah. So we had a great time working on that show. You know, working with Cam and Rob and Barry and Renee and Pat Fraley and Pete Renaday. Just a really wonderful cast. I mean, and James Avery, of course. You know, Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. Was the voice of Shredder. And boy, what a gem he was, and what a blow it was to all of us when we lost him. I mean, truly so. But we, and James would tell us these great stories. He'd tell us once, because he got Fresh Prince while he was on the show, while he was doing Ninja Turtles. And he used to tell us these stories about how when he'd be on the set for Fresh Prince, how when like guests would be on the show and stuff, and they'd find out that he was the voice of Shredder, that's what they freaked out about. That he was actually on Ninja Turtles. So we had such great fun back then. And, you know, listen, you talk about developing relationships. We became like a family, you know, and the 4 of us original voices, are going out doing Comic-Cons often together now, and fans, just the fans coming out of the woodwork, coming and meeting us and telling us these oftentimes heart-wrenching stories about growing up and the hardships that they had and how Ninja Turtles helped them through very difficult times. To be a part of something like that is extraordinary. I think most people don't really get a chance to experience that. First of all, experience working on a show like that, and then to be able to, 30 years later, hear these amazing stories from folks about how when they were 9 years old and getting bullied in school and their parents were splitting up, and just how Michelangelo taught them that it was okay to laugh and to look at things from a humorous viewpoint, or whether Donatello taught them it was okay to be smart, it was okay to be a nerd, it was okay to to be the geek. Wow, I mean, we hear these things all the time, and so I consider myself just massively fortunate and blessed to have been a part of that, and to still feel like I'm a part of that, even though it was so many years ago that we did the show. The fact that it lives on, in so many iterations, Nickelodeon, keeps coming out with different versions of the show, which keeps it in the public's mind's eye, if you will. Right. But to find that even our original series back from 1987, 88, that went for 10 years, is still so relevant to so many of these people, and they're all in their, late 30s and early 40s now. And they've got kids. And so they bring their kids to these Comic-Cons, and their kids are dressed up like our Ninja Turtles, and they bring in the turtle van, that has all DVDs from the entire series, our entire series in it, wanting us to sign it, and stuff like that. You have a little 4-year-old kid coming up to me going, "Cowabunga!" It's good. Give me a Turtle High 3.
Yeah. It's kind of like you defined a generation of childhood, and then you're actually informing other generations. Like, it's a generational thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's totally cool, dude. In fact, it's totally mondo bodacious is what it was. Still is, I think. Cowabunga! Whoa.
That is awesome. Now, they did bring back the OG voices for Shredder's Revenge, right?
Yes, indeed.
So,
look at that.
What was that like?
Ow! Whoa, watch it, dude. I'm gonna knock you out, bro.
Yeah, dude, I played that game so many times I lost every quarter I ever made on that game right there.
Well, not this game.
No, the one that was, the original right. When you played in the arcade with 4 people simultaneously.
Right. Yeah. Well, this I haven't played. I'm not a gamer myself, so I haven't played this game. But the cons we're going to now, and we've been to 2 in the last month since this game came out, and man, this is just taking over.
Yeah, it's I don't know if I have time to tell. Interesting story was growing up for me. My dad did a bunch of different things, and we moved out to California because he had a desire to create this toy, and he created something called the Night Lights, and we were down at Mattel, and he was already there. They were ready to sign, close the deal. Everyone was there. All the paperwork was there. The attorneys. It was on a weekend, and they were about to close his whole entire line and storyline. And a random guy walked by the door, stops and looks in and goes, "No, not that one," and left. And he was the head of Mattel, who wasn't even supposed to be there that day. And literally the next day, they signed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So they just went, and so my dad always called them screaming mutant ninja babies. Like, he's like, I couldn't own any of the toys. I couldn't watch any of the shows.
because he got aced out by Ninja Turtles.
Turtles. So I always knew growing up, I knew Ninja Turtles before they even came out because he came home. Yeah, he went through a depression. It was but he said it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to him because it said it helped. I became less selfish. He said, at that point, it just really, because he went through a crazy depression after that. We ended up moving back east, and when he came out of that, he was just a different guy. Like I remember him actually being around. He was at my games. It just changed him. So I think it ended up working out for the best. But that little Ninja Turtle story, I know growing up, I was like, I had to go to my friends' houses to watch Ninja Turtles because I couldn't have it at home.
You defined Jason's family life as well.
You really did. Thank you. My father would be so happy that you were on our show.
Oh man, let me get you a tissue. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
So sorry.
I'm kidding. No. It ended up sometimes it's
ended
like
up being better,
in stories. Right? Yeah, what happens in stories? What is the point of going through anything? I think it's to become the best version of ourselves possible. It's like what stories are, and you hope for. But man, so that was just I thought interesting story. But thank you so much for being on our show. It's been such an absolute delight and pleasure. So many more things we could talk about simply because your book of work is just so beautifully incredible.
I do want to ask you one more thing, because we met at VO Atlanta, and you gave some great messages and stuff, and I want you to talk about pursuing your dreams, because it's easy to lose track of, if you come out to LA or anything you're doing in life. Sometimes if it's not happening immediately, it's easy to lose track.
Right, and Cam, as an actor, but also as a dad. I think I need to I need to say that really pursuing your dreams is a great thing. I think we all need to do that. And yet at the same time, the caveat would be, but you also have to be practical as well. So as long as you can pursue your dream and have something going on practically that is going to support you as well, so that you're a responsible adult, a responsible citizen, a responsible person. I think that it's striking that balance that's hard. But when it comes to just purely pursuing a dream, if it's something that it's got to be something that burns so hotly within you that you can't see yourself not doing it, that you can't see yourself doing anything else but that. And what I've seen over the years since I've been out here in LA, I even saw it when I was back in Cleveland, is that the people who are successful are the people who just don't take no for an answer. If they get a no, they figure out a way around it. They figure out and they go another week, another month, another year, figuring out a way to get past that no and improve or sell themselves better or become a better actor or become whatever the dream is. You focus, you hyper focus on it, and you can't see yourself. You just can't see yourself not doing it. Period. I mean, that's it. If it's that kind of passion, then I say, you know what, you do everything you can to pursue that. Because if you don't, you will get to the end of your life and just say, I could have been a contender. I could have, if only I had done. And you don't want to have those kinds of regrets. It's one thing to have the regret that you went and tried it and it didn't work out for you ultimately. You end up going in another direction and doing something completely different with your life, which is okay. But at least if that happens, you say, I gave it a shot. I gave it everything I could. And it doesn't matter what the dream is. I mean, we're obviously talking about voiceover here, but it doesn't matter, what it is. If it's something that just burns so brightly within you that you just, it's the engine that drives you. I feel like you've got to go pursue that. You got to either get it out of your system one way or another by trying it and realizing it's not for you and then moving on to something else, or trying it and succeeding in it, and making it happen. And then if you're lucky enough to have it be successful for you, then the next step, I think, is paying it forward and sharing that with the younger kids who are coming up, who are in your shoes that you were in 30 years ago, and share that knowledge with them, because you're not going to be doing it for the rest of your life, and it's not yours to own anyway. You know, you own that little slice that was yours or that is yours, you know, and you wrap yourself around that with excellence. But you also don't hold on to it too tightly, you know, because if you do, when it goes away, because it will, you can't let it take you down, you know. I mean, listen, I'm 68 years old now, and I've been doing this voiceover thing for 45 years. And, you know, I've been out here since 84. And I just lost my last regular gig that I had for a long time, voicing the promos for Live with Kelly and Ryan.
And we didn't even talk about that. You did Must See TV and The Tonight Show and all that,
yeah,
too.
I was the comedy voice at NBC for 16 years, did all the Seinfeld, Frasier, Friends, Mad About You, all the way up through the 30 Rock in the Office. And then all the Tonight Show promos for Jay Leno for 16 years. That was probably one of the best gigs I ever had. I loved it. When it went away, it was hard. It was really hard, you know. But I championed, you know, the guys who replaced me at NBC, you know, and they're still great friends of mine. You can't. It's like what we were talking about earlier. You know, you cheer on the people who get the stuff that you didn't get, And, you know, but I lost this gig about a month ago. And so now I am essentially unemployed. You know, I do occasional episodes of Adventures in Odyssey, do the Comic-Con thing still audition, you know, but it really is largely, it's a young person's business, you know, and I recognized 30 years ago as I watched some of my heroes come to the useful end of their voiceover career, some of them handled it really well and went out, you know, gracefully, and others didn't, and they sank their own ship, and you know, went out, you know, soaked in alcohol or whatever, you know, drugs, and I made the determination back then that okay, this is gonna happen to me. If I'm lucky enough to have anything close to the kind of career they've had, then it will come to an end at some point, usefully. You know, how are you going to handle that when it happens? So I'll be honest with you guys. I'm right in the thick of that right now because I still feel like, even at 68, I'm young. I've still got my talent. I've still got my energy. I've still got, you know, all this stuff that I've had for, you know, my whole career. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just that I'm the old guy. And it's the way it works. You know, it's the circle of life. And it doesn't matter the industry. You will get phased out eventually. So how are you going to handle that when it happens? So so the tables have really turned a lot for me. You know, sort of very introspective and trying to be I'm trying to learn my lessons. Well, the lessons that I saw years ago, guys either learning or not learning. And I want to be one of the ones who learns it well, you know, and goes out graciously and you know, with a great thankful attitude. But I'm not saying I'm going out. I'm not retired. So that's really top of mind for me, because as I, you know, keep sort of beating my head against a wall trying to make the voiceover thing continue to work, you know, I also may have to recognize that, you know what, dude, your turn is over, and now it's time to do something else. And so I've been thinking recently that, well, you know, I came out here to be an on-camera actor. That's something I never really ended up pursuing. Maybe now's the time to do it. Who knows?
Yeah, that was interesting. Like that closed door in my dad's face. He ended up going back and writing. He became a writer. He's done like 13 or 14 books now, and he just had a series picked up to do an animation off of the stuff. So sometimes a closed door doesn't mean no. It just means that there's something better. There's something different.
Exactly.
And that's,
exactly. So I'll be honest with you. Those lessons I'm trying to remind myself of right now. You know, because rather than cheerleading, you know, folks like at VO Atlanta, it's like I'm sort of having to turn inward now and be my own coach and cheerleader and say, dude, it's okay, because I have some pretty down days these days, you know, but I expect that they're not going to last. So.
Wow.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too. I was talking to a guy, his name's Sid. He's actually a financial advisor, works down in Newport Beach. And he said one of the most interesting shifts that he's seen is that he said there's a lot of people in their 50s and 60s, even into their 70s, that have quit their career, and they're literally starting something entirely new. They're
completely new.
Completely new. He said they're actually building new companies. He's like, they're starting new stuff. And usually I'm used to saying, hey, we're going to invest in this. And they're like, no, we want to invest in this new idea that we have. And he's like, it's mind blowing, because the idea of retirement for me has, I think, been incredibly detrimental to the United States and to the world, because you have these guys who, like you, spent your entire life learning the craft, learning the knowledge. And then if you go off to some community somewhere and play golf, you take all that with you.
Wasted.
It's wasted. It's just gone. And so that's why I think for me, it's that mentorship that, what do we do this show for? It's like, there's a lot of people right here that need to hear your story, my story, Cam's story, to mentor them, to help them become the best version of themselves possible by giving them all the knowledge that we learned and tools that we learned to do, their own thing with it. So,
right. And the best version of yourself, as long as you're alive.
Yep.
It's not something that ends at 65 and you retire.
No,
I can't see myself ever retiring.
No, me either. Neither Jason.
I won't do it. No way. I'll
keep...
go until it just kill me.
Exactly. I want to keep going until I can't do it anymore. Physically or whatever, mentally. Maybe I'll lose my mind. I don't know, but yeah, I just want to keep growing. And keep growing as long as...
keeps you. I think that's what keeps you youthful. It's what keeps you alive. And it's what is it? It's those two things. I think for me, it's like having an eternal perspective, because I think something happens after we die, and there's a reason for life. And then there's also the joy of learning and living, because I don't ever think we ever fully can even begin to come to the end of what we can learn. It's not possible.
No. Yeah. It isn't. You're right. Yeah, good for you, man. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, and I think that's, and my mom and dad now, they actually live in Moldova, and they've been working to teach. They were doing marriage and family counseling and stuff, and then they started helping refugees from Ukraine, and that's literally, they've been there 6 years now. They just went one day for like a conference or something, and then they just said, I think we're supposed to stay here, and so. It's just the beginning. I mean, he's in his mid 70s, and they're just like, we're going to go do something different. So you never know. Like, there's so many things, and you can take all of the things that you learned from all these stories, these characters, and it can inform something entirely even more powerful. Like, I think you are at the prime part of your life when you have the most knowledge, the most wisdom, the most experience to literally be like a hammer against... it's like darkness. It falls when you guys tear it down and make a way for other people. So I think you're just at the beginning of the greatest part of your life. It's coming. I just know it. I feel it. It's coming.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I needed to hear those words today.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel it. I've got goosebumps right now because it's true. It's true for you. It is absolutely true for you. I know
Jason,
it.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
New beginnings with Townsend Coleman. You saw it right here on
Right here. We're excited to see what's next, and we are on board for it.
We are on board. Totally, 100%. And we want to thank you for everything that you've done and are doing as far as feeding into the community.
Thanks, man.
It means so much. And you're one of the giants that everybody talks about, being in the shadows of giants. And we just want to thank you so much for everything you've done and everything you contribute.
Thank you, Cam. Thanks, Jason.
100%. A pleasure. And I look forward to talking to you off show. See what happens next.
Okay.
That's right. Right. Stay in the green room. We're going to close out this show. And again, thank you so much. It's been such an honor talking with you, Townsend.
It's a pleasure, you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Wow.
Powerful. You never know what's going to happen on this show. I just like it that it's more, entertainment is more than just the entertainment aspect. It's the relationship aspect. It's the things that we learn. It's who we become along the way. And it's like what we talked about before. The dream is really just, it's got to be so powerful because it needs you to get to leave the safety and comfort of where you are to risk the journey of becoming something.
Well, Shun Li Fong was saying from the greenhouse, the passion, paseo, to suffer. You have to be willing to suffer for that. And the people that have suffered to make their career, their dream happen, have so much to give. They learn so much. They contribute so much that suffering, like we're talking about, gives birth to amazing things throughout the entire person's life. I mean, you know, new beginnings. There's never an end. Like you talk about, you know, heading up to the tree.
Yeah, the tree.
The story. You know, life is about the journey, and there's never an end to that journey. And
yeah, it's who
when
we
you have
become along the
an
way.
eternal
It's
perspective.
Yeah, it's who we become along the way. Because like I tell those
That's
kids,
the important part.
If who wants an Oscar? Everyone wants an Oscar, right? But the moment you get your Oscar, are you done? Are you happy, satisfied, hang the hammock, never do anything for the rest of your life? No. I guarantee. I have an Emmy. We found out we had 2 Emmys.
Yeah.
The second time you get up there, when you're at the top of that tree and you realize I got my Emmy, what do you want next? Another Emmy, another. There's always more. So that's why I'm saying that dream, that passion that needs to carry you throughout life has to be A, for life itself, B, for others, and C, for the very point of just creating. We are just created to create. We're
creative beings.
Yes, and so I think there's a passion and a joy that comes from that process. And once you've reached that goal or that hill, it's literally there's other hills. And I think that's why, does that passion carry you into the next thing, or is there a new passion that's being birthed in you while you're walking up that mountain?
A passion you never even saw before because you didn't have the knowledge to see it.
Yeah, so maybe you get to the top of the hill and you think, this is, but then on the way you're like, you know what, I really, really want to do this.
Whoa,
I care
what is
about
this?
Yeah. So it's the exciting discovery of what comes next.
Yeah.
So, and we love exploring that on this show. That's why we're here. That's what we've created Entertainment Dudes for. And we're just so thankful. We're so thankful to have Townsend Coleman on and to just share what's really going on inside the heart, because those things are the things that connect most deeply with us and they matter. And so his story and his life matters. And we know you've experienced that as well. And we look forward to having more guests and more conversations like this on the show. If you have any comments, please like and subscribe. Drop it down in the bottom box on YouTube. If you're following us on Spotify or any other shows, we're really excited that you're a part of this growing group and this movement, and we look forward to what comes next.
All right. This has been Entertainment Dudes. We'll see you next week.